of you on each and every spring equinox, and I'll think of you when Virgo rises and I'm winding clocks, and I'll think of you when sweet spring blossoms have all blown away, and I'll think of you when April showers come heading my way, when I walk among the daffodils, when the rapeseed blooms on rolling hills, and I'll think of you when those spring flowers have faded from view, 'cause those petals on the tide like confetti for a bride, promises of spring sadly denied. When I walk among the daffodils, when the rapeseed blooms on rolling hills, and I'll think of you when those spring flowers have faded from view. Hello and welcome to another song from the Witch's House. I've got Bugsy on my lap. You can't quite see him because he's out of... just lifted him up so you can see him. I've had to put him on my lap because he's making far too much noise. So welcome to another song from the Witch's House. As you can see, today I am sat in that part of my house that we call the snug. It's a tiny, tiny little room. Years ago, it used to be the coal shed, and then my mum had a wall knocked down to make our kitchen just a tiny bit bigger. So we haven't got much in here. A very small sofa, a little rocking chair that I'm sat on, a dog basket, of course, because there's one in every room, and of course a wood burner that you can see behind me. I haven't got the wood burner on today, although it's still a bit chilly, because I wanted to put a whole selection of spring flowers on top, because the song that you've just heard is called The Promise of Spring. And again, it's a very sad song and it's a very poignant song. So I know in the past I have mentioned my stepfather to you, Jim, and this was a song that I wrote for him after he passed away. And he passed away on the spring equinox in 2014. And I suppose really my relationship with Jim was a real roller coaster affair because, as you know, he was my stepfather. He came into my life when I was 16, hadn't long lost my father, and Jim was a completely different character to my own father, and we did not get on at all. We had so many stand-up rows. I was obviously a surly teenager. My mum always felt caught in the middle because we just didn't get on at all. And I suppose there was just always like an uneasy truce between us. And I suppose we'd gotten to a point where we sort of tolerated each other, but we certainly weren't close. And then in 2008, he had the misfortune to suffer a really bad stroke. And overnight, he went from being able to live by himself in his own house, because Mum and Jim weren't married back then, drive a car and be totally self-sufficient, to not even being able to stand up. And he had a horrendous time in hospital. That could be the subject of a whole other film, but I'll leave that story for now. And we took the decision to look after him. I can remember going to see him in hospital one day and just seeing this man who'd been so fastidious about his appearance, his hair, the clothes that he wore, being hoisted up in the air with no clothes on, hair stuck up in the air, no dignity. And I just said to my mum, we can't put him in a home. We'll look after him at home. And when I look back on those years, they taught me so much. The first thing is, and I would say to anybody watching this who might have a loved one in hospital, if the doctors and nurses give up on your loved one, don't you give up, because you know your loved one better than anybody else, and they deserve positivity right until the end. When Jim had his stroke in December 2008, we were basically told, and I think he had his stroke on the 15th and I found him on the 17th, they probably wouldn't survive till Christmas. And Jim and I saw the new year in together in 2014. So he had plenty more Christmases. And I think that was the case because we never gave up on him and we gave him lots of positivity. And that's really important. Always listen to that little voice inside that tells you what to do. Anyway, he had all sorts of issues, when I was looking after him, health issues, which I won't go in and out of. But towards the end then, he had to go into hospital. And I remember the last time he went into hospital in 2014. If anybody remembers the spring of 2014, it came really early. And I remember getting him in the car and he was looking around at all the apple blossom and the daffodils and all the lovely spring flowers like the ones just behind me there. And I made him a promise, and the promise was, when you come out of hospital, I'll take you for a nice drive and we can look at all the lovely flowers in the countryside. And of course, you know what I'm going to say. He didn't come out of hospital. So that's why the song is called The Promise of Spring. And the day after, I had to change all the clocks. So if you listen to the lyrics, they're just really me talking about what I went through at that time. And the other poignant thing is that Jim had always said to me, I wanted to walk you down the aisle. When he had this stroke and he lost his mobility, the one thing he was worried about was walking me down the aisle if I ever got married. And I said to him, Jim, I'm not even going out with anybody. I'm not going to get married. But that seemed to bother him, that he wouldn't be able to do that thing. So if you listen to the lyrics, I talk about cast those petals on the tide like confetti for a bride, because I was thinking back to those conversations that we had. And I suppose I just would say that those 6 years, or 5.5 years when I looked after him, I learned so much and we actually became really, really close. And if I didn't have the dog sat on my lap distracting me, I'd probably have tears in my eyes, just thinking back to some of the sort of special moments that we had. So I hope you enjoy The Promise of Spring and know that it was written with that kind of experience in mind. And if anybody's watching this and they are doing the work of a carer, good on you, because I know what it's like. And believe you me, when I first started, I was like on a vertical learning curve. But you soon work out what things work and what things don't. And I think being a carer is one of the most important things that you can do in this world. It teaches you so much. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. As I always say, please like and subscribe to our channel. If you like any of the songs, hopefully you can get them on Bandcamp. And Bugsy, do you want to say goodbye to everybody? I love this dog so much. All right, until we meet again on the next moon, whichever one it is. Oh, Bugsy, Bugsy, don't wriggle. Some witchy magic is coming your way.